Okay, so Uncle gonna talk story with you again. So one of the things that is really fun, um, being like a martial arts instructor and stuff like that, is being able to talk to other martial arts instructors. Yeah, and one of the cool things is hanging out with other people, talking story with them, and not having to feel like that reverence that is needed, right? Like a lot of times what happens is, as students of teachers, we kind of hold our teachers in high regard. Yeah, and a lot of times that creates like a weird dynamic and like a weird relational situation, right? um, and it almost makes people put up a facade because they have to appear extra respectful and stuff like that. So like one of the cool things that I experienced was that I used to live like right across the street from Kaji Kempo's Grandmaster Lewis, right? And I used to go and talk sorry with him all the time. And the cool thing was that because he was a grandmaster, yes, but he was from a different branch, or a different school. I was able to talk to him like a normal guy. He's like a normal guy. He used to tell me he had the weekends. He used to do tai chi. He used to talk sorry about like how his students and how they'd come over and he'd be working out with his students and stuff like that. Um, and that was really cool. I used to also like cruising in the park at we used to cruise in the park at Ala Moana with the Uechiru guys, right? The Hawaii Uechiru guys with like Al Cloutier, right? We used to do like our own like little before he was teaching Uechi, we were doing like our own like little Watashi no Rule thing, which is basically your own style and stuff. So like a whole bunch of like martial arts guys used to hang out and cruise together and stuff like that. And then he started like teaching his class. So that was like how they built, yeah, their thing. I used to also like to hang out with the Honolulu Sparring Club, with like the Ron Ponell and like the Kenny Proctor and all the Kim and like all those guys that used to come over and used to cruise in that environment where it was a whole bunch of different martial artists coming in to just spar at the sparring club, right? A bunch of guys doing different styles, having fun. Go look them up. I'm not too sure if they still do it now, but that was like a unique experience. Yeah, that was first started off with Ron Ponell, and then Kenny took over, kind of like that kind of like sparring club, organizing and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff is pretty awesome to be able to talk to fellow martial artists in kind of like a peer, or even kind of like more like a human kind of way, instead of it being like a teacher student reverence kind of thing, right? So if you can try to keep that type of dynamic, because then it'll make your life a lot easier, right? You don't have to put on a show, you don't have to be respectful. I mean, there was a time when uncle, right, he was teaching little kids, right? And so he couldn't go to gentlemen's club and go check out stuff, or go to the bars with his friends, right? Because what if he's seen by one of the parents or something like that, right? So that kind of stuff propagates, in the martial arts world. Your instructors are just, uncle me. I'm just like a human, just like you. I like to go cruising. I like to eat plate lunch. I get fat. I get old, right? And so your instructors are the same way. I kind of miss Grandmaster Lewis. It was really funny. I used to ask him, "Hey, Grandmaster, right? How you become a Grandmaster, right?" Because I kind of figure out, okay, a Grandmaster has masters underneath them who have masters underneath them. That's why they're a Grandmaster. So I asked him, "Grandmaster Lewis, how did you become Grandmaster?" He told me, "Hey, when you turn 50, you can call yourself a Grandmaster. Nobody not gonna know." That's why he was so cool, right? Grandmaster Lewis. I live right across the street from Grandmaster Lewis. Miss the guy. He was awesome. Great person. I like talking story with him because he was had this big aura, right? A reverence, his grandmaster. But at the same time, he was human. He was my neighbor. He was a great guy. I miss that guy. Um, but like, if you guys can go out and like, or students go out, you have you have like a teacher or whatever. Talk to them, figure them out as a person. They're not like untouchable. They're humans. They're just like you. They feel pain, right? They have their own problems and concerns. And yes, the teacher-student dynamic. You may not want to breach like disrespect or whatever, right? And as soon as like the thing changes from teacher to friend, it might change like the whole training dynamic of it all. But while you can, if you can find like friends that are like instructors, if you're an instructor, go find a friend that's an instructor, talk sorry with them, and then what you'll find is you guys will be able to share things, share your challenges, work together, boost each other up, you know. Try not to be like the guys that talk down about at other people. So yeah, that guy's junk, or that guy's a McDoja, or that guy's a Bushido, or that guy's a whatever, right? Or that guy doesn't know how to teach. He can't. So like, you don't build yourself up by putting other people down. What you do is you help each other out, right? You provide suggestions, and then you both grow. Or not just both of you, but everybody grows. Everybody helps each other out, and that's one of the great things, right? Because we're kind of all in it together. Yeah, we're just trying to, hone ourselves and do better. Now what we gotta like switch our mindset on is we're not necessarily competitors. Yeah, we're not necessarily UFC guys. We're not necessarily boxer guys, right? We're not going for the championship. We're just training martial arts. Okay, when it comes to down to the I'm training the champion. We're the best. No, we're better. That's them because they have to, right? They're competing against each other, right? But if we're just martial arts, casual guys cruising, talking sorry, why not be friendly? Stop cutting other people down. Provide suggestions. The students. Some students, they don't really want to learn martial arts. They just want to have an activity and have fun. They want to hang out with the rest of their chums, right? But to have like some other people bad mouthing their school and making them feel bad for it, that's just depressing and disappointing. Stick to your own business, right? It is what it is. And granted, some people might say, no, you're doing a disservice because you're teaching them, not correctly. They don't want to learn it. They're not there trying to defend themselves from this or that. They might be, right? But sooner or later they discover, I better like take martial arts from a different school. So you think it's your job to be the martial arts social justice warrior, huh? For the world, beat up some old guys that are just trying to teach, talk bad about other people. Destroy some kids' dreams because you think that, you know more better than them, right? Right? That's not your kid, right? That's another person's kid. Yeah, maybe the mom wants some instruction. Maybe you can go to the mom and say, hey, you know what? That instructor sucks. How much is he charging you? I'll charge you $20 less, and we'll be better. You can do that if you want to. But that's how I see you guys. When you talk bad about other schools, all I see is that you guys are trying to prop yourselves up by pushing other people down. And there's responsibility, yeah. But there's more to martial arts than just the art itself or the self-defense aspect. There's many different aspects of it. And I hope that you don't destroy somebody's dreams just because you talk bad about them. We're a small community. Anyway, go train.